Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hypecast mit Tom Reimann und David Bell.
I feel like I already know your second cat, who I have not actually met yet.
You'll meet him eventually once he becomes. He's still a Heidi. He's still a little Heidi puss.
Yeah, is he accepting pets? Is he accepting them?
Yeah, he is, but begrudgingly still. You know,
sure.
He took pets last night without running away. I didn't have to corner him to get the pets, so that was good.
So he's basically at the same level of intimacy that I am with you and Hannah. That's
exactly
about where he is.
Yeah,
right,
I have to corner you
where
for
he's coming
pets.
from. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. A thing you would definitely do.
Right.
You would absolutely do that. I'm listening. I always listen. Yeah.
Welcome to Hypecast.
Oh my God. Welcome to Hypecast. Oh.
God, Alexa, I wasn't talking to you. Alexa, stop.
This is going to be the worst episode of Hypecast that's ever happened. Get ready. Get ready,
I didn't even
everybody.
finish. Okay, hold on.
Get ready. Hold on. For what?
Welcome to Hypecast, the show where we get hyped about stuff and things. I'm one of your co-hosts, David Bell.
And I'm your Tom, Adam Ganser.
Welcome, Tatum.
Thank you.
Tatum
Rhymeser. Yeah, Gansman. Yeah. So, like, when someone becomes a Tom, inhabits a Tom, is it my role to keep us on track today? Is that what I'm supposed to do?
I don't know.
That's a huge mistake. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Shouldn't do it.
Listen, we're just gonna see where this goes.
Well, I know
for
where it's
the next
gonna go.
3 or 4 hours.
Exactly.
All right.
I don't.
All
No,
right,
don't try to prevent it. Like, let's just fucking accept.
I'm not going to try to prevent it.
Okay.
I am going to try to. I'm going to get us to the producers, and then we can. And then we can take our clothes off and run wild.
Thank you. You're really Tomming it right now, and I appreciate it.
But thank you, Adam, for being the co-host.
Thanks for asking.
Do you want to plug anything?
Oh, thanks for asking.
Right away.
I mean, if any of you haven't heard of my video game show with Michael Swaim called One Upsmanship, that's now on the iHeart network, hey, check that out. And if you have heard it and you like it, give it a rate and review so it reaches more ears and so on. We're planning some really cool guests. We're planning some really cool games.
Nice.
So get ready. Yeah. We're full-time Game Boys now, so get ready for that. And you know my stuff over at Small Beans, and that's all I got for now. Thanks for asking, Dave.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course. Bada bing, as you always say.
Hey, did you know that was improv? Did you know that bada bing was improv?
What do you mean?
So, like, I found this out when James Caan died. So, like, that line, bada bing, that's such a mafia thing, he improv'd it on the set. It was not a written line. It's like a thing that came out of his head.
And he was just like, it's something like mobsters would say.
Yeah, exactly. And it just became this, like, feature.
It feels racist.
I mean, it probably is. Like
such gibberish.
What
like,
is?
The Italians are saying bada bing.
That's exactly what it is. It's his Mario impression. That's exactly what it is.
God, Mario should have said bada bing when he jumped and shit.
Give me the gabagool.
Hey.
Exactly.
God, I want a mod. I want a Mario mod where he. Oh fuck!
I want Mario Sopranos. That's what I want.
Yeah,
I want him to come
where
on.
He's just Tony Soprano.
Yeah. Caramella, can you put out the gabagool? Right?
Okay. Yeah. No, you are right.
That's what I want.
Okay, shit. Producers,
Most of our
right?
bits,
producers.
most of our bits are Mario related. That's a thing I've realized.
Yeah, we do that, don't we? We love the Mario.
We really do. We love them so much.
All right, producers. Big thank you. These are producers for the show.
Yeah.
They're lovely.
Yeah.
Big thank you to Hombre. That hurt my throat.
Wow.
Hombre, you hurt my throat.
But thank you anyway.
Thank you to Heathcliff's Helping Handfuls.
Handfuls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you to the conveniently placed self-destruct button on the top of every baby's head.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Samuel Beckett's Donuts and Mortgage Emporium.
Thank you.
Thank you to Snapper Carr Punches God in the Dick.
Thanks.
Thank you to @NerdNumbers.
Thank you.
Thank you to Mike the Lurker.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you to Dracula. Mixing up two of them. Dracula, the bus driving vampire.
Sure.
And thank you to Brockway loves the Meat Millie, although Dracula probably also loves the Meat Millie.
Who doesn't love the Meat Millie?
That's true.
You know.
And thank you to David Knife Boot Henson.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, let me get in here, Dave, and Tom the fuck out of this. Let me get in here. Thanks to Grumblebee.
Thank you.
Thank you to Screaming Horse Pyramid. Thank you to Look Mime on a Podcast. Thank you to Zex Marquise the Lightning Baron.
Thank you.
Thank you to Deborah's awesome, Barbara's great, and Cancer can go to hell.
Thank you.
Oh, God. Thank you to Numina Ultra Microscopic Ill Volcanoneosis Anti-Disestablishmentarianism Jones. And
that was pretty good.
I did okay. That's all you're getting out of me, bro. That's the thanks I get. That's
it's Numinal Ultramicroscopic Silicovolcanoconiosis.
Wow. I didn't know I was taking a test to be Tom today. Does he?
I know.
Does he just nail this every time? Does he just nail it?
What's that?
Does Tom just nail it?
Well, you learn it. You learn it. I had it for a while.
Whew.
I had to do it, and then Tom had to do it. And after a while, you just like I don't read the text and say, "Oh, that's clearly what that is." I have just memorized phonetically how to say it.
Yeah, reading it is it's an eye spasm for sure. But anyway, yes, you have turned me into a seal clapping for fish, sir, and I thank you for that. I thank you for that meta awareness. Thank you to the baby from Eraserhead.
Thank you.
Thank you to Chiz Lily Tits. Really like Chiz.
Thank you.
Thanks to these 7 Bs.
Thank you.
And thank you to my all-time favorite, Breezy Ruizy. Thanks, Breeze. I love Breezy. She knows I love her.
Yeah.
She knows.
She knows.
She knows. How could she not know? Basketball to you, buddy. Yeah. Hey, Dave, we got some trailers. We got a few.
Yeah, we do.
You want to talk about them?
No.
I don't either.
All right, fine.
We could do more about Mario.
Let's talk about him.
we could talk so much more about Mario. So much more.
Oh, fucking thing. No, we have a trailer for Wednesday.
Yeah.
This is a series. You never know it from the trailer, which is not a bad thing.
That's interesting. I think you would, but please continue because I'm intrigued what you mean by that.
It just felt maybe this is just personal. I just didn't know it was a series, and when I watched this, I was like, "That's going to be a fun film." And then I looked it up. It is directed by Tim Burton. The series.
That's okay. All right. I don't hate that. Did you like this? Were you in on this?
What? Did I do this?
Were you in on this? Did you like it?
Yeah. I mean, I liked the original Addams Family.
Sure.
I like a good classic Tim Burton. And so this feels like those two elements, right? Like Tim Burton has been very hit or miss for me lately.
Yeah, right.
But like I enjoyed, what was it? That Dark Shadows one? For what it was.
If there's ever been a property that he just inherited that he should knock out of the park, this is probably it, right?
Right. This was one where it I literally stopped for a second. I was like, wait, has he not been associated with Addams Family in the past? Because I just kind of assumed. But yeah, no, of course he's doing this, right?
Yeah, he should absolutely be the one doing it. I think the credit they gave him in the trailer was interesting. From the mind of Tim Burton. It's just a funny credit.
Whenever I see that credit, I think, oh, he produced it, right? Like that's what that red flag is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's the Nightmare Before Christmas from the imagination of Tim Burton. It's like, oh, he didn't actually write it or direct it. Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's a really vague credit, especially when you know the Addams Family pre-exists Tim Burton. So what are we talking about here?
From the mind of Tim Burton, like I disagree.
I don't think so. I think that's not right.
Hard disagree.
Yeah, bad.
Yeah, and so
let's rewrite that. Yeah,
it's weird that they didn't just say from director Tim Burton.
right. Why?
Or like,
right.
just-
What's that mean?
Yeah.
Why are we?
or just
doing this?
directed by Tim Burton.
Right. Like, let us know the thing that we want to happen is the thing that happened here.
Right.
You know, like,
because again, it felt vague.
yeah. I honestly thought they were hiding something. I really did. I was like, what does that fucking mean? He looked at the
That's
script.
literally. Yeah, no, that's why I Googled it. That's why how I learned it was a series. Because when I saw that, I was like, what do they mean? What is his association with it? And then it was like, oh, he's directing it?
Yeah.
We'll just say that. Yeah.
Right. Stop it.
Very weird.
Stop it, trailers. Just stop it. Hey, but
Stop it.
This is Hogwarts, right? Like, that's what this is. It's
Is that
Wednesday-
what? Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
She's
Wednesday
going to
goes
like
Hogwarts.
she's going to like creepy goth school or whatever.
But they're also magic. It's Hogwarts. It's Addams Family Hogwarts.
It is. Yeah.
You know? And I don't mean that's not a belittling thing. Hogwarts was fun. Let's be I mean,
but that is kind of a red flag in the sense that they don't know what to do with it. If that's the case, you know what I mean?
It definitely feels like a project that started with how can we get the Addams Family back and like contemporize them? Well, let's start with Wednesday. She's probably the most interesting figure right now to us. What could happen to Wednesday? And then they got to Hogwarts with like 2 more jumps.
Yeah, and they're not wrong because I would argue. I mean, I really like those Addams Family movies for sure. It was always weird that it's sort of surrounded, like Uncle Fester was like
right, exactly
the main character. He's the protagonist,
and he shouldn't be,
at least in the first one.
Yeah,
and I feel like he is even in the second one. That's the one where he gets married or whatever.
He's certainly like the catalyst for things. Like he pushes things forward.
Right, and it's like you know what all the kids love is like old bald, like
lunatics.
creepy dudes
lunatics.
played by played by Christopher Lloyd, which is like, I mean, they weren't wrong.
No, Christopher
like,
Lloyd is a treasure, and we love him.
Right.
But I mean, as the main character of a creepy thing, I don't know if that's the right call. You know?
Right. Well, again, it worked at the time, but I can see now where they're like, we're making it modern. Who's the character that would get the, speak to people? Oh, the teenage girl. Let's make something for teenagers.
I would say that
because that's what this probably is, right?
Absolutely.
This is for teenagers,
as it should be. Because it can't be for you and I. I don't know what it would take to get us to go to the theater. So it's got to be for kids. So that alone makes sense. I would argue those old movies actually did struggle with feeling focused because they didn't pick a protagonist. I think this is a smart move.
I agree.
I like that.
Like as much as I like those movies, I think those movies, they survived by the pure charisma of the people involved. You know what I mean?
Well, they survived by the delightful MC Hammer track that propelled them into the #1 Billboard spot or whatever.
Sure.
Don't make me rap it at you, Dave, because I will. Don't make me do it.
We've watched them. Were you there when we watched the music video for it?
That. There's no reason for me to watch it.
It's a good music video.
Oh, of course. I honestly, all those like Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer songs for movies, they all have like a kind of warm place in my heart because they're so bad and good.
The music video, it's not like the Seal Batman Forever music video where they just take clips. No, like Raul Julia is in the music video, like sword fighting MC Hammer and shit.
Thank God.
Like
that's all we wanted.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Speaking of Raul Julia, by the way, another underrated performance by him. He has so many, but I'm way in on Luis Guzman in this role. On it.
Well, as people pointed out, he looks like the original comic.
Yes. Yes, he does. He looks like a Tim Burton cast. That's what Tim Burton's so fucking good at, is casting these weird cartoonish looking people in these roles, and they're perfect. Sure. And this is a perfect job of casting by Tim Burton. He's so good at it. And I love Luis Guzman personally. I would have already been thrilled to hear that he'd married Catherine Zeta-Jones off screen. That would have thrilled me already. Let it happen.
Yeah, and her as Morticia.
Yeah, love it.
That works. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, this is I'm in. I think this is a cool cast. I want to see this happen. I don't know if I'll watch it because it doesn't super appeal to me, but there's nothing stopping me from watching it other than being old.
Right.
This is
all gravy.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I have nothing invested in Addams Family as a property. It's like, yeah, why not bring it back? We only made 2 movies. You know, we didn't oversaturate. This isn't like Peter Pan where it's like, man, we're making another. And then they got Tim Burton for it, and it's like, yeah, of course Tim Burton would do it. You compare it to like the Rob Zombie Munsters, where you watch the trailer and you're like, I don't know what the fuck this is.
Yeah.
And so like this is how you do it, right? It's just like, yeah, I know exactly who this is for. It made sense who made it, and it looks good.
I'm going to be on risky territory here, and I know that, but I'm gonna plow ahead, and you can delete this if you want. The only thing
I'm not going to delete it.
Well, we'll see. The only thing that troubled me about this trailer was they had her drop piranhas into a pool full of children and rip the genitals off of a young boy, and everyone was supposed to think that's fair. And it was like, I don't know about that, man. That seems a little over the top. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but I think that's the point, because that actually was one of the more reassuring moments for me. Because
interesting. Okay.
If you recall the original Addams Family movie, it's really grotesque.
Does she murder
people? Like, they kill people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do all sorts of terrible things in that.
I was thinking of it as a PG kind of concept. So if they were always doing that, then retract my concern. That just felt very like, oh my God, really?
I thought they were going to dumb that down.
Okay.
And it was almost nice to see something really morbid like that in this. So
it's pretty gruesome. That's a pretty gruesome thing to do.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But it's not out of line for Addams Family, is what I'm saying.
Great. That makes me feel a little bit better about it. But in general, I'm against that kind of treatment of kids in films.
Yeah. If you remember at the end of the first Addams Family movie, they kill them. They kill the bad guys. And then they bury them possibly alive.
Do they?
They literally bury them, and Wednesday and Pugsley are like, are they alive? And they shrug. And then they bury them.
Right. So, but is it done? I mean, I guess I don't need to nitpick this. I guess my thought is like, there is something. It's also like they talk about him like they're sterilizing him. Like it's better for him not to procreate. Also seemed pretty harsh. I was like, ooh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a little weird to me.
Yeah.
I honestly would have preferred them to just kill the kid.
I think
I know that's weird to say.
Yes.
Yeah, but
no, I don't think it is
weird. My only bone to pick with that is a bone to pick with modern. Like, it's not about this trailer. It's about modern. The way I don't know. It's the fact that it's like these cartoony CGI fish, and it's like a ball biting moment where he's like, oh, like it. This is such a weird conversation.
It sure
I appreciate the violence. I do appreciate the violence of it all, but it almost felt like they pulled their punches a little bit.
Oh, you think it should have been worse?
And then the equivalent of pulling your punches is biting the genitals of a kid off, which is so weird to say. But it is like, like in kids' movies where like the bad guy gets kicked in the balls and they cross their eyes.
That's what.
And somehow that's seen as like.
That's what this was trying to be, I think.
Exactly.
Right?
Except it's a piranha eating. So it does feel like it's a little bit in the twilight between like, all right, well, if you're going to just do it, do it. Have them stripped to skeletons.
Yeah, that's what they should have done. That's what I was thinking when you were explaining, well, they used to murder people. And I agree, murder is worse. But I don't know if it's worse to consume it than like to have this kid get his balls chewed off in a pool and then to comment on that's what's happening to him. You know what I mean? Like it's like he shouldn't procreate. Like we're literally tearing his genitals off. I don't know, man. I think death might be a better punishment narratively here. But
it's weird. It's hard. It's so hard to like
nuance this.
You're right. And like it's so hard to explain that because death is objectively worse, but tonally, there's something about that version where he just gets eaten by piranhas that feels more in line with Addams Family.
It feels more horror tropey and less like and less going for a kind of like a
slapstick,
but mixed with a justice oriented like high five moment. It's like both of those things, right? That's what's weird about it. Anyway, we spent enough time on piranhas chewing the kids' genitals off. Yeah, we spent enough time
at this teenage boy's genitals. Yeah. Let's talk about Slumberland.
Are you sure?
Slumberland.
We can keep going, Dave.
No.
Yeah.
No. I want to talk about this.
Thank you.
It's the director of Constantine, Adam.
That does absolutely nothing for me.
Okay, it's the director of I Am Legends.
Okay.
I Am Legend,
All right.
singular.
You know, it did do something for me. Coach Taylor. Like, boy, if there's an actor like Kyle Chandler who just gets me immediately like, hey, man, I'm willing to watch you. I don't know. Like, he's like top 5 for me. I love Coach Taylor. I think he's so fun and such a great actor. So, hey, I was all the way in immediately with this.
Here's what I'll say about this.
I'm ready.
It's based off a book.
Yeah.
It looks good. It looks visually good. It's obviously, it's not for us. It's for kids.
Of course.
This has to be the most generic premise for a fantasy.
It's
because like you look at like
Sandman.
Neverending Story, right?
Yeah.
What?
It's the Sandman meets Inception. That's what it is.
It's Inception, yes.
Yeah.
But I guess it's so for people who haven't seen the trailer, it looks like it's like Princess Bride style, where it's a father putting his daughter to sleep, telling her about a land called Slumberland that's a dream world where you can do anything. And apparently that means conjure Jason Momoa looking like a maniac. But my point is that
his look. I liked his look. His satyr-looking horns and stuff. I was in.
I want a version of this because the concept of Slumberland, a land of dreams where anything can happen, being told to someone before bed, sounds like something a frustrated dad would make up on the fly to get his kid to go to sleep.
100%.
And I want that version.
Right.
Where he's just like, I don't know, fucking Slumberland, all right? I'll tell you about... Because it's like, what if there was a land that was dreams that happened when you go to sleep?
And then he ends up having to go there. Right.
Right. It's called Slumberland. It's like, no, that's called dreaming. You're describing dreams?
You lazy asshole. Buy a book.
Right. They're treating it like they made up the concept
right,
of
exactly.
dreaming.
Yes, they are doing that. Like, oh my God, the wonder of dreams. It's like, nah, man. I'm sorry, nah, you're way too late to this party.
Right.
I agree with that critique. I have a different one. Are you ready for it, Dave?
Yeah.
This is another nitpick, and I'm sorry. How old would you say this young woman is, or this girl is?
I don't know.
I would say she's probably, I'm going to say between 13 and 15. Like, I know
she might be, yeah.
She's probably not a lot younger than that, right? So
yeah, she should be doing drugs,
right?
Not Slumberland.
Why is she getting a story at all? She's too old for this. I remember the day that my mom stopped wishing me good night. It was like when I was 8 years old. She's like, "You're too old for this now," and I was like, "Okay," and I accepted that. This young woman, 5 years older than that, and is like taken up with the wonder of a very basic sleep world that if she'd read the Sandman comic would have easily disposed with it. You know what I mean? Like easily disposed of it.
Oh yeah, my guess is that she's playing younger because they always get older people to play younger roles.
They only
right?
do that usually. They only do that because it gives them more time to shoot. So like when if she's like standing in for a 10-year-old, that's not a big difference. You know what I mean? Like they usually do it when they can get somebody who's 18 that looks the part so that they don't have to limit the amount of hours they can work.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the idea.
For like high school kids. Yeah, but when they're playing a kid, it's like there's nothing you can do about it.
Not much. I mean, there is differences in like time allowed. That is a thing. So I guess you could like, I'll get a 15-year-old who looks 10. I guess that's possible, but I doubt it. I doubt it. Yeah, I think she probably is close to the age, and it just felt very much like she's too old for this. That bothered me.
Right. Drugs. She's at drug
That's
age.
what he should do. He's like, listen, you want a story? And then he just like throws her a bag of cocaine.
Right.
Says like, this will keep you up, but you'll be tired after. Trust me. This will wear you out. Trust me.
This, I get real Wrinkle in Time vibes. Like if people are wondering what the tone is, this is why I'm for this movie.
Okay.
Because did you see Wrinkle in Time?
Is that the Scorsese one? Which one is that?
No, that's Hugo. Wrinkle in Time is the one with giant Oprah.
Oh no, I didn't see it. No, that didn't work for Old Bear. I didn't watch it.
No, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me and Tom either. What I'm getting at is that Wrinkle in Time, at least brushed upon the old tradition of making kids movies designed by people who hate kids and want to terrify them, like the witches, you know.
Right.
Wrinkle in Time doesn't quite have enough of it, but it has some moments where you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And like I think maybe Slumberland might fall into that tradition as well, which is a great tradition, which is teaching kids about fear.
Sure.
You got to teach kids about fear at some point. And so I'm hoping there'll be some really fucked up, weird shit for kids to get traumatized by in this movie.
Well, I mean, I agree. Of course,
is that so much to ask?
No, it's not so much to ask. So you'd think that would be contrary to my note about let's not have piranhas chew off a young child's genitals. But it isn't quite, because I actually do think there's value in making something that's legitimately frightening for kids in a story. Because I think kids are old enough to understand that a story is contained and can't really hurt them. I mean, at a certain age, you know? And that makes it good because they're processing that. And this does seem toothless. Like, there's no conflict at all in the trailer from what I can tell.
Right. It's hard to tell what it even is from the trailer. Because, again, I watched it, I was like, so dreams. It's about someone having dreams.
Right, dreams. Neat.
Like, there's no stakes. You're acting like you've invented a world, but you're literally just describing someone having dreams. I hope maybe there's more to it than that. I don't know.
It looks like an amalgam of a bunch of things we'd seen before, too. It's like a little bit of Inception, a little bit of Sandman, a little bit of Big Fish, you know?
Yeah, Jason Momoa is like a goat person.
Yeah, he's a satyr.
Like, it's a little Narnia-esque. Yeah. It very much feels like if you took a bunch of, like, fantasy movies and put it into a computer and ground it up and saw what came out. It's just everything, right? It's all the fantasy movies.
For sure. And I think the reason that they do that is because, and we're going to get to this a bunch of times, because it's actually sort of a risk-averse way of doing a new IP, right? Like, because a new IP might be scary or might be uncomfortable, and, you know, that's stuff that they don't want to risk.
Yeah.
They don't want to risk that.
I would argue that is you're right. I would argue that that's not new. Like,
no,
I would argue Indiana Jones was that,
I agree.
right?
Yep.
Like, yeah.
I agree.
Everything kind of comes from something. But like I think what you're circling is that this feels even more so. Like, it doesn't feel like it has an original bone in its body.
This feels algorithmically created. And the trailer seemed content to say you're gonna watch this because it's everything you've already seen, and that's when the artist in me instantly gets defensive. I've been on this podcast 100 times and said this 100 times, so I'm not gonna say it a bunch of times more. But, you know, we should ask for them to at least pretend to make a thing that feels new and sell it to me that way, because that's why I would need to see another movie. You know, like, make me earn my eyes here, you know, and I don't feel like they did.
Yeah. It's hard out there.
Sure.
As we'll go into in terms of, like, being a creative.
It's really hard.
Where it's
Absolutely.
like, you want to talk about the next trailer?
Oh, Dave.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, this is... Go ahead, please. Please, Dave.
All right. This is The Greatest Beer Run Ever, directed by Peter Farley.
Academy Award nominated director. It streamed across my eyes and I was like, oh my God, that's right. Oh my God. Yeah.
This is about a guy going to Vietnam. He sees all these protesters protesting the war.
Yeah.
He says, we want to show them that we still appreciate them. And he goes to Vietnam to bring them beer. Only to, I think, realize that things aren't so cut and dry over there. Like, I think the idea is he's going to slowly realize, like...
Oh, there is reason to protest.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
But also it's going to be, like, a little centrist, and then it's like, yeah, but it's not the soldiers' fault. It's supposedly based on a true story. I highly doubt that.
I mean, they went to great pains to say that.
Yeah, but they don't, they can lie.
Okay, fair enough.
You can just lie.
Listen, I have a lot to say about this trailer, but I think the most important thing I'm going to say on this, and really any of these, because this question applies to a number of them. So I hope you're ready. And this question is, would you not just rather watch the Jackass version of this story?
Wait, what does that mean?
Watch those Jackass guys do exactly this idea.
Oh, yeah, why
That
not?
would be so much better. Like, let's let fucking Johnny Knoxville do a beer run into a war zone for a Jackass stunt. Let's do it. That's going to be so much better than this. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, and right. All the trailers.
Yeah.
Wednesday, we should have had Johnny Knoxville get his testicles eaten.
Right. You know, like, there's going to be more. I'm telling you. There's going to be more.
Yeah.
The Jackass version.
Damn, I should have included. There's a new series coming out with Johnny Knoxville, and I didn't include it on this because we were running out of space.
Sure. That's okay. You know, he lives forever in our hearts. You know?
Yeah. Here's the number one reason I want to watch this.
Great. I'm ready.
I mean, I'm sure it's fine. I mean, that said, Peter Farrelly has not given me any reason to think that after Green Book or whatever.
Green Book was a C+ movie for me. Like,
yeah,
I didn't hate it.
Yeah,
if it hadn't been up for Academy Awards, I would have thought that was okay. You know,
right? It's when something's propped up like that you're like, okay, slow down.
Yeah,
everybody.
exactly.
This movie is listed as in 2 hours and 6 minutes, which is like, okay, that's too long.
That's a bit long.
But the number one reason I want to see this is to see Bill Murray in it, because it has been a while since Bill Murray has played someone who isn't Bill Murray. He's been on autopilot. Like, I love Bill Murray. He's, he's shaped so much of my sense of humor since I was a child. But like, he hasn't, in terms of comedy, doesn't do much except be Bill Murray. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's been content to be sort of a self-parody for about 20 years.
Yeah, and on top of that, and this is really bleak, I honestly thought he was on his way out. And what I mean by that is that I thought he was winding down his career and retiring.
That's not unreasonable to have thought that based on his acting choices.
Right, but he's always loved to do weird, serious shit if he could. But it felt like all he was doing was like Wes Anderson and Jarmusch films until the end.
Right.
And it's like, that, honestly, that's not bad.
No,
that's not a bad thing.
Two fun things that I like that he does them. I just appreciate knowing that Peter Farrelly had to like pitch his answering machine for him to do this project. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, well he did Kingpin, right?
Right. But
he's done Farrelly Brothers.
But
yeah.
I mean, again, the legend goes that Bill Murray doesn't have an agent; he just has an answer machine. So you pitch to the answer machine, and if he likes it, he does it, and if not, you don't hear from him. I just love that idea. You know?
Oh, me too.
I hope that's what happened.
But
here.
He's apparently also in the next Ant-Man.
Sure.
And
Why
so,
not?
like, yeah, that's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to see that he's Bill Murray is. I don't know. I think a lot of this is just to fund him golfing, but like, I don't know. It's nice to see him still at it. And then again, this movie or this depiction in the trailer was like, oh, he's really going for it.
He's doing
playing
something.
a character.
Yeah, he's doing something.
Yeah,
he's got an accent, and yeah, I agree. Okay, so I'm gonna get on one soapbox, just one, Dave. I think this is the right one. This is another boomerized cultural narrative, and honestly, that's kind of what Peter Farrelly does. I think it's okay for us to say, like, with all due respect, I don't think we need more content about sort of like how do we view today's lens through the historically significant boomer moments. Not because I don't like boomers. It's not even that. I just don't think entertainment wise we need more of it because we've had a lot of that.
Hard agree. And Farley with Green Book, this is another, we're going to sanitize this thing, right? Or we're going to make it seem more centrist than it is. Because it is like the Vietnam stuff. It's just like, it feels, I don't know. We've made so many things on Vietnam. So it seems so silly for someone to pitch like, how about another Vietnam movie?
Right.
Like if I was a producer, I'd be like, get out of my office.
Why? Like, what do we have to say about it? Because the answer is, oh, well, if it's about commenting on things that are true now, which is almost certainly why this is being made. And, you know, hey, I get it. That's who he is, and I'm not trying to stop him. I'm just saying that, like, well, what ends up happening is you reduce the current issues into palatable versions of them that are easily understood and nodded at. And that resonates with people who are not grappling with those issues. That's what happens. And, you know, I understand that some of these issues are complex, like, you know, the protesting and our military involvement and stuff. Like, I get that there are perspectives about that not everybody lines up on. Putting it in the past doesn't solve that. If anything, it makes it worse because you haven't actually grappled with it, you know? Anyway, that's my artistic counterpoint.
And I just think that the boomer romanticizing and we're not going to let this era go kind of stuff, where it's like, you know what I think this is a product of, actually?
I'm ready.
I think it's a product of executives refusing to retire. And the fact that boomers have very much refused to retire and millennials can't get power because of it. And to the point that what's going to happen is millennials are going to get skipped over completely, right? Is like once boomers actually leave because they've just died, millennials will be deemed too old to be like a
creative voice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what it is like, why are we talking about fucking Vietnam still? Shouldn't we be like we were talking about Vietnam in the 90s?
It's 50 years ago.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's an entire adult generation ago.
Right. Like, we were doing Vietnam movies in the 90s. By that metric, we should be doing fucking Gulf War shit. And like,
and you never see that.
We should be.
You never see that. You never see the Gulf War movies. There's been some.
No, because the people making the decisions are all too old.
One presumes. I mean, that sounds true. But then sometimes you look up the ages, you're like, well, wait, this person's a Gen Xer.
Right. I have nothing to back this up.
I suspect that it's because the constant proclivity towards safety, like toward unrisky, safe decisions. This is a safe decision. Vietnam is not a thing that's going to like rustle any feathers or anything. That's why, you know, and that's why we keep getting World War II
we're
stuff.
far enough away. Yeah,
it's the same reason. It's like these are both now safe places to talk about human dignity and like, you know, complex moral issues because nobody's going to be offended by that. Yeah, it's like, but then it has no teeth, you know, and then so why do I care?
Yeah.
You know, you get it.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
Now, do I hate the idea of the movie aside from that? No, it's fine. I could see a good version of it. It's okay.
I stand by that. It's mainly for me, Bill Murray. And yeah, I'm sure it's fine. It's got Zac Efron.
Sure.
Why are we? I have nothing against Zac Efron, but I don't quite understand why he's in so many things.
I'm guessing he's bankable. I've just never seen a thing with him that mattered to me. That doesn't mean that he's bad at all. I've never had the movie. I was like, wow, I really loved him in that. It just didn't happen.
No, that's exactly it. Is that I don't think he's necessarily bad. I just haven't seen a movie I liked with him in it.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. Like, honestly, if I was being really honest, I'd maybe say the same thing about The Rock. Except for Jumanji, which I thought was quite good. Like, I love
and Southland Tales.
Okay, I didn't see that. I love The Rock because of WWE and because of just his personality and all that stuff. But he's another guy that's just been in a bunch of things and none of them super landed for me. You know?
Yeah, I mean, he I feel like I was just talking about this with Southland Tales. The Rock, he made Doom, right? Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, that was a good idea. And then he became really famous. And then he did Southland Tales, which you don't actually have to see Southland Tales. It's not a good movie.
Okay.
But it's a really weird movie. And it's an indie, bizarre. It's the director of Donnie Darko, his follow-up.
No.
And The Rock plays completely out of type. And the movie was terrible. And it did not do well. And from then on, The Rock was like, only safe stuff for me. And that was a real problem because I do kind of agree with you, which is every movie with The Rock I watch, I go out of it and go, yeah, that was fine. And then I never watch it again.
Yeah,
and I never think about it.
He just doesn't have and I've said this before on this podcast.
He's safe. He's really safe.
He doesn't have those
to the point
Schwarzenegger movies. He just doesn't have them, you know?
Exactly, but I think he, as the movie Walking Tall shows, or is it Walking Tall, the one with Schwarzenegger and him? Like they pass each other?
I don't know. Were they in that?
Sean William Scott.
I mean, I don't know. You're going to know before I do. I'm looking it up.
Walking.
It was 2004, Dave. He was a young
People are
rock.
probably
Was in it.
screaming at me.
Johnny Knoxville was in. Johnny Knoxville was in Walking
No,
Tall.
I'm not thinking of Walking Tall. I'm thinking of the other one that he did during this era. That people are screaming at me.
I don't know either.
Screaming with all their might.
We can camp on this and look up all his movies. You want to do that? You know?
I'm going through them right now.
I'm filling for you, Dave.
I know where I'm filling for me
I guess,
too.
I will say, I think dunking on a star because they've made a bunch of movies you don't like is always selective. Because if you look at anybody's film catalog that isn't like Robert De Niro or somebody like that,
The Rundown.
The Rundown. That's okay. There's always like 80% movies that you don't care about and forget. That's just movies. You know what I mean?
For sure. It's just we've been doing a podcast where we go through Schwarzenegger films, and it is kind of wild how subversive his films were immediately, where he is not like, you look at like he has several franchises like Terminator and Predator where you could argue he's not the focal point. And The Rock doesn't really do that. The Rock, I think The Rock wanted to, because in The Rundown, he literally has a part where Schwarzenegger basically passes the torch to him. And then he never did anything weird enough. Like, he never did Total Recall, you know?
I mean, I think that, again, it's a different era in that there aren't that many projects that a guy like him could do, probably, or would do. That's the thing, is like, this might be a chicken or the egg question of like, okay, so is The Rock turning down these like predators out in the world? Or is it that nobody is gutsy enough to make a predator and therefore it doesn't reach his desk?
Right.
You know?
Or here's the question. He definitely doesn't do R-rated stuff, right? The Rock,
not
again,
much.
Doom is the closest. Not much. Are we just old? And do people look at stuff like Jumanji and think like that's really out there, you know?
How could they when it's a remake? I don't know. Like a remake of a thing that was like barely 20 years old.
Right. And then you look at this other stuff like Rampage or Skyscraper, and it's just it all feels very forgettable.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
Skyscraper is Die Hard, but not. It really isn't.
It's a real thing that we're getting old, Dave. Like because it is harder for a good movie to penetrate our
penetrate. You said penetrate.
I did. Thank you for acknowledging it. To penetrate our hard shell of movie knowledge. And like, again, the way I know this is when I talk to film students who haven't seen all the things, and they never have. When I ask them what their favorite things are, it's always like, oh, I thought that was really derivative of X, and they'd never seen X. You know what I mean? So there is a generational aspect to it. There's no question about that. For sure.
The way I always think of it is Marilyn Manson. Is that when we were growing up and parents were like, I don't like that Marilyn Manson. It occurs to me that I think most parents weren't like, he's shocking. They were just like, yeah, I mean, Alice Cooper did it, and he's not very impressive. Like, I think that was more the case. I don't know if that's actually true. I think there was drummed up outrage. But I think, like, when I think back of, like, stuff like that, where it's like, I feel like a lot of parents were probably just like, yeah, we did that, or our version of that. And my opinion, ours is better. I don't know.
I mean, I know that a lot of people rejected...
The Rock, by the way...
A lot of people rejected Marilyn Manson purely based on aesthetic. Like, I don't know how many people actually got mad at him because of their music. I doubt that, you know. Anyway, please continue.
I don't know. The point is that I do think there is an element of like, the older you get, the more it's like you look at something and you go, oh yeah, this was just a version of that.
I already saw this. Right.
The Rock is doing a remake of Big Trouble in Little China, although that's been announced for like 10 years, so Lord knows if he's actually going to do it.
Well, it probably isn't him holding it up.
Yeah,
I mean, it might be, but it probably isn't.
I don't know.
I mean, I also think it's a lot... first of all, like, I think there's more of a path now for an A-list celebrity to make a lot of money and, like, have an empire and, like, do that, and therefore increase the longevity of their film career despite the good or bad quality of the movies than there was even 30 years ago. Like, even 30 years ago, if you're going to stay in movies, you had to be in big movies and they had to be a hit, or else you'd inevitably fade. That's just what happens. You know, now it's like, I think if you're an A-list star, movies are a launch pad to the empire business of like, you know, owning a drink brand and owning a clothing brand and like owning real estate. You know what I mean? And like this stuff that sort of keeps you forever in that zeitgeist world. And I know that sounds a little cynical, and I can't say that's what's happened with Dwayne Johnson, but I look at that and I see it kind of across the board with a lot of A-listers, and I'm like, maybe that's what's happening. Is like the movies are not their first focus. You know, I don't know. I could be wrong.
I don't know. Movies to me are nothing but light, Adam.
Oh, God.
Can we talk
Dave,
about the next one?
I got so mad immediately. The first line of this, I was like, oh, my God. Yeah, go ahead, Dave. do what you must. Do what you must, Dave.
The trailer. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about The Rock for literally hours.
I mean, the man won my heart forever in 1999. So.
If we want, if we want to talk a movie that The Rock should have been in, it's Empire of Light, the Sam Mendes film about movies.
He should have been shot out of the lens of that camera that we looked at with an intimate close up.
This is a very good director. Good director.
He deserves
who makes beautiful films.
He deserves a watch on the basis of his name, not on the basis of this trailer. You know what I mean? Yeah. This trailer is what? I don't. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, yeah, he is
right.
I think. Yeah, Sam Mendes has like Road to Perdition alone is enough for me to watch every film he does.
American Beauty is still a good movie. I love. American Beauty is a good movie.
It is. It's definitely American Beauty is very dated.
Sure,
it's very Fight Club era where it's like
there's problematic stuff. Like in it. Totally.
Yeah,
but it's still
it's the brave journey of an older white guy trying to fuck his daughter's friend.
100%.
But yes,
100%. But it does mark a thing that was culturally true at the time. You know, which was that feeling, that listless feeling that a lot of middle-aged men were having. It resonated for a reason. Is it problematic? 100%. When I say good, I mean that it marked an important moment in film.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just, it's now painfully pre-9/11. That's all.
Totally. 100%.
But again, he's made so many good movies. 1917, what
great
a fucking amazing movie.
Absolutely. He's made a lot of good films.
Skyfall,
Skyfall was great.
Like, I'll even give him Spectre. I probably should.
Dave, don't give it. Take it back.
I like Dave. Jarhead. Jarhead was good. And so like that said is like he is hit or miss for me. Or it's not even that his misses are like really big misses. They're just like, not great. And this, I can't tell because it just feels like it's a movie about how great movies are. And that's never a good sign.
If I was the emperor of movies, if I was promoted to emperor of movies, you know, aside from it,
and you'll get there.
And everybody would wear a badge. You definitely have a badge, Dave. You've earned the badge.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You know it, buddy.
Thank
and
you.
A hood, a badge and a hood. You'd get it right away.
Thank you.
Buddy. These are the vote Adam for emperor of movies. Anyway, if I was emperor of movies, I would not let any Hollywood film be about the creation of movies or this art form of movies unless it's something like The Player. You know what I mean? Like if it's that like the sort of the backstage drama of making a movie, then I'm interested in it.
I would say or it's like Nope, which I don't know. I
haven't
if you've
seen Nope, but I can accept that. Sure.
Yeah, where it's a commentary on filmmaking in a very specific. I think what it needs to be specific. Or I think you're right. Is it can also be like Living in Oblivion, where it's about like making, or like Birdman, you know, where again it's a specific thesis. The ones that bother me are the ones that are just like, aren't movies grand?
Right,
aren't they magical? And it's like
movies.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, we don't have to do this. This feels like you just won an Oscar.
I also get frustrated with even things like Argo, a movie that's fine, but like Argo again is sort of, it doesn't have any self-awareness about the pro Hollywood piece of it. And I just don't want that in a movie. And by the way, if anybody can relate to it, it's me and Dave. You know, I mean, we're in the business, we get it, but like, I just don't think that stuff it needs to exist for an average moviegoer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that resonates for them. Or I don't know. Maybe it's resonating and we're the, fucking sarcastic dicks. Could be. I just think like, hey man, instead of being self-celebratory, you know, like find a sentiment that everyone can relate to and a subject everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
You know?
Here's the one thing I'll say that this has going for it.
Yeah.
And this, if you paid attention to the trailer, you'll know the answer to this. I didn't pay attention to the trailer, so this was surprising to me.
Okay.
When do you think this is set?
20s or 40s. Like it's I think the 20s.
It's set in the 1980s.
What?
And if you watch the trailer, there's 80s skinheads in one scene. There's like an 80s hairstyle in another. I 100% I'm on board with you with this, where it looked like it was going to take place in the 30s,
It looked
right?
like it was
like the style, the way they're dressed. They're all dressed like they're in the fucking 30s. All the main characters.
It was about an interracial marriage, I thought, which again put it in the past as like being a big issue. That's what it looked like.
The 80s was still a problem.
Okay, yeah.
That was still a problem. So like that's what I guess what I was getting at is everything we just said about that Vietnam stuff. This is making up for it. This isn't boomer fantasy.
No, it isn't.
This is at least 80s. So that's kind of nice. This
could absolutely have something to say. Like honestly, it could be awesome. It could be a really good movie.
Yeah, we're just talking about the trailer. The trailer looks. This trailer
should have got tossed. Like, and I mean, I don't know. Like, if I was the director of it, I'd be like, I don't want to make a movie that has this whole let's celebrate the cinema thing. Like, you know what? You know when that's good during the Oscars, and even then it's a bit much. But like, that's what the Oscars are for. You know, let somebody else celebrate your film. You know, you just make a good film. That's the job. Anyway.
Roger Deakins is the cinematographer.
Sure, he's amazing. He's a genius.
Yeah,
you know.
I guess it's again Sam Mendes. Like, this is going to be an amazing looking film.
I bet it'll be a good movie.
This movie's going to look incredible. I'm very on the fence about the actual plot, but we'll see.
Sam Mendes. Look, I'm going to read a summary at some point, and that summary is going to be like, "Oh, that looks good," and I'll forget all about this trailer. You know, like because but we have a right to sort of react to the trailer given what it's presenting.
Absolutely.
And
again, like you'd think at this point. Any movie that's like, we're just going to celebrate movies. You'd think they'd know not to do that.
Why would
but
they
at the same time, I guess those are very successful movies. Again, they always do well.
Not only do they do well, but they also get a lot of applause and hand clapping and stuff when it comes award season. Like, I would say they're incentivized to make this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
You know?
Yeah, La La Land is another one that didn't quite, like...
It was fine. It was fine.
It was fine, but they're always the praise, the hype is always so much more than they deserve, and then you end up hating them. Like I always end up kind of resenting these.
Well, here's the thing about La La
reason.
Land, and really a lot of these movies. So they're selling the Hollywood dream, right? That's what they're doing, almost always. The problem is the people who judge them are living the Hollywood dream. These are people who succeeded, and so this is their story. Like it is a narrative that is true for them. That's why La La Land resonated so much in Hollywood, and whereas I think the rest of us are like, boy, oh boy, this is schmaltzy. You know what I mean? Like,
right, where it's like, fuck you, man. Because if I remember, that movie is about like, if I recall, it's two characters not giving up on their dreams
and it working out.
And like having instant success in like months.
Right.
Where she's like, I want to be an actress. And then it's like, yep, you're an actress. It's that easy. And it's like,
but
Jesus
a lot
Christ.
of the people who get into the academy and stuff have a success story that is somewhat like that. You know, maybe not overnight, but like certainly, you know, they have that huge rocket meteoric success. It happens. And good for them.
Right. It's the idea. Yeah, it's good for them. But what a lot of them don't realize is that it's like winning the lottery and then being like, oh, see, it's easy. You know, it's like, no, it really isn't. Right. You just happen to go down the one avenue of million, you know, it's that. It's whenever an actor is like, follow your dreams. It's like, that doesn't always work out for people, you know? Like you can't
it's
just
tough, man.
Risk it all.
It's what I'll call the Star Wars prequels problem, where like at a certain point as a storyteller, success is actually stopping you from being able to imitate a world that people can relate to anymore because you're not in that world anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and that just is what it is. I would hope if ever a movie success comes either of our ways, Dave, we'd stay in the same apartments. You know what I mean? And we'd like keep eating like trash and keep doing podcast stuff and just put the money. Put the money into charity or something so you can still tell a real story. You know, I don't know. This is very judgmental. That's just is how it looks from the outside.
No, but I think I think this is really like vital in explaining the vibe from this movie is because nothing in this trailer is deserving of this amount of judgment, but it's the vibe of the trailer of like, we're going to talk about how great movies are, that it invokes all these feelings, right?
I disagree.
Of detachment, of like, this is clearly a story told by very rich, successful filmmakers who have no idea what it actually means anymore to like make movies or even love movies.
Well, they know what it is to love movies and make movies, but they don't know what it means to make a movie that's for an audience that they're connected to.
Right. Yes, because this is just them making a movie for their circle.
That's what it seems like. That's how it looks from the outside. As often as I'm critical of this filmmaker, I'll say one thing that makes Tarantino so great is he actually does know how to incorporate like Hollywood and filmmaking as a narrative point into his movies successfully. He does that really well. I would say he did it really well in the Holocaust, not Holocaust, the Killing Hitler movie.
The Holocaust.
It just flew out of my head.
Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, they have that whole sort of like cinema and like love of film thing that's going on the whole time, and he really artfully wove that into a story in a way that was satisfying. When you agree,
you're right. For all the things that annoys me about Quentin Tarantino, the self-congratulatory movie stuff like doesn't actually bother me as much as I think it would.
No.
That's interesting.
Even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is more of a love letter to like the era than filmmaking per se for me.
Right. I don't know. I would argue Tarantino's films are very masturbatory.
Oh, sure.
Right. For better or for worse, whether you like him or not, like, you know, like he it's very self-fulfilling. It's very much look at me. It's all about me. But like surprisingly, I can't think of any like eye rolly. We're gonna celebrate the magic of movies.
No, even
there's got to be something, right? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there's got to be something.
I've only seen that movie once with Maggie, and we both were pretty
same here
about it.
But I was not into it.
I kind of want to rewatch it and like now that I'm over it and sort of see like does any of it really resonate. Right. I agree. There didn't seem to be too much like yay movies. He does seem to have a more grounded sense of what is accessible to an average film audience. I mean, and we're all kind of guessing on some level with that stuff.
He knows what it means to be a movie fan and like a geek, but it's always look how obscure the things I'm into are. Again, I generally find Tarantino films like they're fun. I think he's a good director. But his writing really gets
That's
to
so
me.
funny because that's the thing everyone in Hollywood agrees is his best quality. It's the one he keeps getting applause for, and they just won't applaud him for directing, and I think that's his quest.
Well, yeah, I have to retract a little bit. His directing is very derivative, right? Like by design.
He quotes a lot.
He's I would call it stealing. It's to me the same way Seth MacFarlane will like use just jokes from other things in Family Guy. Sure. And it's like, yeah, you can think of that as an homage, but you're just doing their joke and you're not like, that's just like taking the thing. You're just taking the thing. And since you're pulling from like older stuff, people don't necessarily know either. So
I hear you. That's one of those great debate type things, my friend, like the origin of the universe and is there a multiverse and are artists allowed to steal? That's the question. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I don't particularly find his I use quotation on purpose. I don't find his quotations disturbing. I think he does recontextualize stuff a lot. But I get that people don't, and I see why. It makes sense to me. Can I say one more thing about Empire of Light? As the Emperor of Movies.
Yeah.
As the Emperor of Movies, I appreciated that there was one shot where they walked into a burnt umber looking scene that I swear was right out of that place where they shot Blade Runner 2049 with Harrison Ford. Like that scene. And I was like,
you're right.
is that the same fucking cafe? And then I realized it's Deacon's. That's why. Same DP.
Oh, that makes sense.
And that's when I had to tip my cap to Deacon's and be like, bro, you're my lieutenant general in this administration because he's so good at it, man. He's so evocative really that I remember shots, like specific shots. He's a genius. Anyway.
He knows how to shoot
That would be,
stuff.
honestly, dream come true, Dave. Dream come true. You and I write that film we're talking about, and then Deeks reads it as like, let me shoot that. And we're like, yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Well, let's find out. Let's find out where he lives, and we'll bring the script to him.
Yeah, he'll appreciate this. I like that we premeditated a crime on this podcast. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
Speaking of crime, let's talk about Lou.
I loved this, Dave. Loved it.
I do too. I'm a big fan of this. This is Journey Smollett and
Allison Janney.
What's her name?
Allison Janney.
Allison Janney. Allison Janney. Thank you. And Allison Janney is basically Liam Neeson.
Yeah,
she's Liam
basically
Neeson. Older
late
badass.
90s Harrison Ford is what she is. She's doing an amazing job in this trailer.
Yeah. She's clearly like an ex-Marine or something, living in the woods, and her neighbor, who she doesn't seem to have a good relationship with, gets her daughter kidnapped for who the fuck cares
Doesn't matter.
reason.
Don't care.
And Lou, she has to just kill so many people to the point that I believe I see her demolish a lighthouse in this trailer.
There was a couple lighthouses.
Back.
There was a couple lighthouses, Dave, and I was like, "Yeah, this is the right mix for old Dave and Adam." Yeah,
yeah. Listen, it's kidnapping is bad.
Yeah,
but how many lighthouses until it's
it's
like
worth it?
So much property damage. Yeah. We need those lighthouses.
Right, how are the ships
a ship could crash.
Yeah, how are they going to see?
And there could be kids on that ship, I don't know
what's going on at the lighthouse in general. If that one movie was any indicator, that's a whole other thing you don't want to get involved in.
It's during a storm. Yeah, I am so into this. This is the director of Underworld Blood Wars.
Yeah, sure. Fine.
And fine. And here's the thing: this is a lady, Anna Forrester, is directing. She is the cinematographer for several Roland Emmerich films.
So she gets it.
And she gets it. I'm so excited.
This felt almost directly ripped out of the 90s, and they just swapped Harrison Ford with Allison Janney. That's what it felt like. And I sat back and thought about it. I was like, that really is, I think, my favorite use of this mechanic that we're into right now, is sort of like, revisiting these old tropes with different genders and stuff. That is a good version of it that I'm glad they're making it. I think it's a good idea. We haven't seen it. I'm ready for it,
Yeah. We were just talking about how everything comes from everything, right? And everything's derivative to an extent. But there's like a weird difference between like watching the Slumberland trailer where it feels like kind of uninspired, and watching this where it's like, okay, so you're doing this era of action, but you're doing this on top of it, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and also like personally, I love that Hollywood understands the potential of Allison Janney. Like I've always thought, man, she's something special. Like even all the way back to West Wing.
She is.
And maybe she's just good with roles, like picking roles. I don't know, but like I love that she's doing this. This guy. I got really excited about this. I think why not? Even if it's just a B movie. So, like I'm into it.
What?
I'm into that.
This looks great.
Totally, completely.
Yeah, I have nothing else to say about it because it's just like, I'm all in. It's just a fucking action thriller in a storm that looks fucking fun as shit.
I love the name Lou. Lou is a perfect name. You can't say it without a little bit of a sneer, which I love. It's like maybe that goes back to Fight Club. You know what I mean? When Brad Pitt's just saying Lou over and over, he's getting beaten the shit out of him. I don't know. I love the name Lou. I think it's great. I'm way in on this. I couldn't believe how much it got me, but it really did. Was way in. Speaking of getting me, the next one too. I really like this one.
Yep. This is as adult as a movie gets.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like this is one of those movies that it's like, are you old? Watch this trailer. Are you excited for this trailer? Then you're old.
I agree. That's right.
This is God's Creatures. This is A24. It's an indie film about a fishing village where a mom is protecting, like lying for her son who assaulted a woman, or rather is accused of assaulting a woman. But I mean, judging by this trailer, he probably assaulted that woman.
I think they're
in this,
trying to make that clear, actually. Right?
Yeah, in this close-knit, like, island, like, fishing community. And Emily Watson is the mom, and it's bleak, and it's serious, and I agree with you. I am into it.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, obviously we're doing this story a lot about, you know, men covering up their crimes and stuff, and for good reason. This is, I think, one of my favorite versions I've seen so far, because there's a maturity to it that I really like. I like the cast. I like the tone.
I love the cast.
It also just, like, I had an interaction with a therapist that I'll always remember, like, right when the Me Too stuff was happening, where, like, some of the stuff that was coming out about Aziz in particular, like, I was talking about it with this therapist, and the therapist was like, well, that's just dating. You know what I mean? Like, and she was an older woman. And I was like, I don't, you know, like I understand what you're saying. I know that's what we used to say.
Yeah, that's some boomer stuff. I've had boomers say stuff where it's just like, oh yeah, men will do that all the time back in the day. You just get used to it.
What's so interesting is
it's like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, that was true in a sense, that like that is what happened.
Oh yeah.
And she did get used to it, and she kind of came back to me later and was like, I appreciate that you pushed back on that, because like I had to really think about it and realize, like, you're right. I don't know why we put up with that, which was a nice interaction. And I feel like this movie might be that. You know what I mean? Like, it might be that thing.
It might be that. I think it's also exploring a very dark thing that I've thought about for no particular reason. I've just thought about in terms of like, whenever like, I'm trying to think of a good example, but whenever in the news, like a Casey Anthony happens.
Yes.
And you look at the family around it,
right,
and they're like, no, we believe our daughter. She's innocent. And you're like, wow, she sure isn't. But like, you think about what it means to be a family member of someone like that. Exactly. It's like, what else would you do? You know, like if your loved one did like a murder, like, I don't know, if you have if you love them, if you're really like, so it's exploring that idea where it's this woman doing something horrible because of the love for her son, who's clearly a piece of shit. But it's like, it's like, what do you expect? And it's exploring that idea, which is a very complex and dark idea.
I dig it.
I
really dig it. Did you ever see the movie In the Bedroom?
No.
So In the Bedroom is a late 90s, maybe early 2000s, like very early 2000s drama thriller like this. It was based on a short story by Andre Dubus that I think had a totally different title. And the premise of that is essentially that like this guy gets involved, this older couple, they have a younger son, I believe it is, and the younger son gets involved with this woman who has a sort of a troubled relationship history with her ex-husband, and he gets murdered. And so it's them sort of like having to deal with that, like how do they process that? And it has a similar kind of like coming to terms with it vibe that this has. It goes in a very weird direction, so it's probably not going to be that. But I got a vibe here. I was like, ooh, that's a cool movie. I hope this is like that. Anyway, this looks great. I'm really into it. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil In the Bedroom if you haven't seen it. It's a really good film. Tom Wilkinson was in it. And Sissy Spacek.
Ooh.
And Marissa Tomei, I believe. Yeah, great cast. Yeah.
Well, next trailer, final trailer. This is the remake of Goodnight Mommy with Naomi Watts. She loves her horror remakes. Although I would argue Funny Games, it's the same director and writer for Funny Games, so that doesn't even feel like a remake. I don't know.
I love her. I think
Goodnight
Naomi
Mommy.
Watts is cool.
Did you? Oh, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you see Goodnight Mommy?
No,
the original?
No, I didn't know this was a remake. So it was a fresh idea for me.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil anything. This looks identical to the original, which I would then say, you know, it's one of those situations. It was 2014, and it's like go see the original.
Oh,
this looks
it's that
identical to
recent?
it. So
Well, why are they redoing it? That's
What's
dumb.
that?
7 years ago or 8 years ago?
because it was a different language.
Oh no.
Yep. That's why I repeat, just go see the other one. Just watch the subtitles. You don't need to see an entirely new
That sucks.
movie to get around subtitles. That said, I actually didn't like the original.
Okay.
I would still say go see the original because a lot of people did. A lot of people did like the original. The people who made it, they also made The Lodge, which I also didn't care for that much. It's two people. They make these horror films that have really good vibes, are really well made, but I would argue their writing is a little silly and very obvious.
horror films,
and very.
Horror
What?
films. That's a sometimes that's the genre, right?
It's what it is that both of the movies they make, they wanted to add twists in, and they both made the movies really kind of silly, in my opinion. Goodnight Mommy has something in the plot that I thought was so obvious that I didn't realize it was supposed to be a twist.
Okay.
It's sort of that.
Okay. Well,
It's again, they're well made, but I found them ultimately, I don't know. Tom liked it more than me. That's why I'm saying like it's definitely a subjective situation.
as taste often is. I, as a person who didn't have any of that background, I did like it. It looked cool.
It does look cool,
and
doesn't
like
it?
the more, and this is another example of what makes a trailer work is like they gave me enough weirdness. I was like, okay, I'm kind of into it, and then they revealed a couple extra plot details to like, so I understand the main conflict of the film, and that was interesting to me. I was like, okay, I like the main conflict of the film. That's like it. So it was a really well made trailer in that respect. But I gotta say,
For people
go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I was just gonna say, for people who don't know, the premise presented in the trailer for this movie and the original is that two little boys, twins, their mom comes home after doing facial surgery, and she's completely wrapped up, and they are convinced that it's not actually their mom.
But the movie does, the trailer implies that they might be right. Like they imply that. So of course they do, because otherwise it's not a movie. Can I say though, the one caveat I have about this entire story, the fault, it's the twins' fault for being creepy twins. You know what I mean? Like anytime I have like creepy twins, it's like
so creepy.
You guys are creepy.
Yeah.
So whatever the deal with your mom is, like it's half your fault. Look at you. It's half your fault, man.
Yeah. Here's what I think I know what to say about these directors of the original and the Lodge is that they very often, the Lodge is about a woman who's like an ex-cult member watching children. And they always get these really cool premises, and they present them really creepily, and then they keep adding on to it.
Like too much.
And that was my issue with Goodnight Mommy. It was like one thing after another where it was like, just pare down your plot a little bit, because they add too many tropes. Like, and then there's also like a lot of logic issues. Where it's like, wait, why would they do that? Or why are they there? You know, like those kind of things.
Like, so it gets convoluted with too many ideas.
Yes, there's too many ideas. Goodnight Mommy, I would argue, this is just the first premise in the trailer. There's a second premise. Oh. Like, there's a second horror twist.
I don't need that.
And then there's a third.
I don't need that either.
And the third is so stupid. And so that's why, that's what I'm getting at, which is like, this trailer looks great, just like the original one did. And then I was really disappointed when they just kept slathering more stuff on it. That's all.
So maybe there's a committee aspect to it, or maybe just know. I mean, it is hard to strip an idea down if you don't feel confident in it, right? Because that's what happens. Right. Is like when you're writing the idea, like you suddenly start to doubt it, and then you're like, I'm going to add stuff to make it more interesting. You know,
right? And I would argue without spoiling anything, and this isn't really. By the way, it's not really plot twisty that like I keep talking about twists, but I wouldn't. That doesn't spoil the movie. I wouldn't think of it in that sense. It's just like it's more of trailer twist where it's like, oh, you think this is what the movie is, then you watch the movie. The second thing that they don't involve in this trailer that happens in this movie, really good, really really good. It's just once they introduce the third thing, it gets stupid. Does that make
no,
sense?
Because I don't know.
So,
what
like,
we're
there are-
talking
there's-
about, but you're.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Nostradamus.
I don't want to spoil anything.
I don't know what that is.
It's just that though, watching this movie was like you pop on the movie, you expect one thing, another thing happens, and I was like, oh shit, that's really good. And then another thing happens, and it's like, oh, you ruined it. That's what it is.
Well,
That's the
I
process.
accept your mapped out experience as being a real experience. None of that's in the trailer, but I accept that, Dave. I accept those concerns.
I know.
Don't
I'm
apologize.
Sorry. I'm so
Don't
sorry.
Apologize.
Go watch the original
Yeah,
Goodnight,
you know,
Mommy.
and then
I'm sure this movie is fine, but like if people watch this trailer and they're like, oh, I can't wait to see that, I have great news for you. You can see it right now. It's called Goodnight, Mommy, and it was made in 2014.
So watch the trailer, then decide if you want to watch it, then go watch the original, then re-listen to Dave's critiques so that you'll know exactly how he felt about that movie, and you'll have truly been entertained at that point. At that point, you'll be maximum entertained.
Only then will you have been entertained.
If you want to be entertained this weekend, that's how you can do it. We've given all the pieces to you.
Adam.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah. Did you want to talk some more? Do you want to thank some more people? Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
I want to big thank you to Davey Francis 9. Davey Goes to Hell. Big thank you to, oh, great.
Thanks
it's that
to him.
guy. Thank you to Chester's Prophet.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you to Definitely Not Guillermo del Toro.
Wow, suspicious.
Thank you to Brian, who Tom knows.
That guy.
It's
Oh,
true.
I need to know who that is. All right. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, well, Tom knows him.
Yeah.
Thank you to Bob
That's
Grenville.
beautiful.
Thank you to
Yeah, he's
Steven.
Thanks, Steven.
Steven. Thank you to Han Toomey, the Confused Cyborg. Thank you.
I hope he finds his way.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to Asking Seven. God, he's gorgeous. Thanks
you.
to Happy Ed 209. Thanks to
you.
Manschwitz Molotov says, economic solidarity is the path to paradise, comrades.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tiger Jars Pratt Thompson sings "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." That's how the B-50. That's how
Beautiful.
the B-52s would sing it.
Yeah,
thank you.
you're right.
Thanks to Dan Hackroyd. Thanks to
Thank
Cody
you.
Johnston's time machine noise. Thanks
Thank
to
you.
Pete
Thank
for
you.
Pagel. God, I'm gonna fall
Thank you,
asleep,
Pete.
Dave. You're coaxing me into sleep with your velvet tongue here. Thanks to listen to the hit song "Books Are My Aesthetic," theme from "If This Book Exists, You're in the Wrong Universe."
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So, they're making a live-action King Kong series. What
I Viscerally hate this.
Yes, thank you.
I hate this.
What would this be? This is like
Why do I need a single extra minute of King Kong after the Peter Jackson version? Why do I need it? He did
Exactly.
it. It's done. In
He
10,
did it.
15 years, sure, do it again so I can see it with new stuff.
the Kong versus Godzilla.
Fine.
I get that shit. But I'm just the problem with King Kong is fundamentally the story of King Kong is a rampage. It's a giant monkey that goes on a rampage and is
It's
killed.
also got a history of racism.
To make that a
It's
series. Yes, of course.
It's
Yes, that's the other thing. It's a stupid monster movie. It just happened to be the first.
like
Right?
why are we so afraid of new ideas? Come on. What are we doing?
I know. Honestly, make a Rampage TV
That would be
show.
more
Fuck
of
it.
an interesting conflict.
like-
At least there's 3 of them then.
Right. Yeah, at least there's 3 of them. It's just also like the story itself, it's not a series. Like that's not
Right,
that's-
what's the midpoint?
it's a story of a rampage. Again, it's very quick. The plot is very quick. And it's a very quick like parable that, like you pointed out, is quite racist as well. And we did it. We did it several times. Once with Jeff Bridges. We don't need any more of it.
Yeah, so
And I don't know why they would say, let's also stretch it out. It's like making a Robin Hood or Peter Pan and being like, but also let's make it like 5 seasons long.
agreed.
You know how people are sick of those stories? Let's stretch it out.
But also, I have to ask my classic question, Dave. Wouldn't you rather see the Jackass guys do this idea? Wouldn't you rather see
Yes,
them
I would.
make some version of a Hong Kong narrative or King Kong narrative? Sorry.
Yeah.
And just who knows what it would be? Probably dicks, right? Mostly made of dicks. You know?
Yeah, of course.
Why not that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't. It'll follow the origins, according to Deadline, in a serialized action-adventure drama that will bring the classic monster story into the modern age. So not only is this King Kong, but it's the most boring part of King Kong. It's going to be all on Skull Island. It's a Skull Island series.
So this first episode is going to be an hour-long version of 2001: A Space Odyssey's first act, where it's just like, how was Kong born? And it's his family fighting other troops of gorillas until finally the giant one is born. It sounds horrible.
The King Kong stuff is probably the worst modern example of the MCU bleeding into other franchises, right? Where they're trying to do a King Kong cinematic universe for the longest time. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it kind of works, but it also super doesn't, and is mostly mediocre, right? Like most of the Kong and Godzilla movies have been like, they've had some great moments, but they're generally speaking like kind of noise. And they kept implying that on Skull Island there were once other Kongs, and I think that's what this is going to be. Right? It's going to be like,
so what?
It's going to be the story of Skull Island with like the tribes and like a bunch of gorillas running around. No, I agree.
Park.
So
they're going to make Jurassic Park, but for King Kong instead of dinosaurs.
I don't even know if they know what they're going to make. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's the only narrative I can understand. Is like, okay, so we're going to try to make a park out of this, right? Because that's sort of part of the story of King Kong is trying to make him an entertainment figure, and it didn't work out. Right?
I think every King Kong and Godzilla movie at its core is just so people could watch CGI monsters blow up buildings, right? Like that is
it's to show off movie tech. Yes.
No one cares about the plot. No one cares about the humans, the characters. That is why people watch these movies, is to watch a campy big monster movie. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that in like a bad way.
I think Peter Jackson did everything we need out of the story. I really do. I think he nailed it.
And then some. I think he did more than what we needed.
That was a bit much. It was, there's a lot of bug stuff in that movie.
It's a very long movie. Didn't need to be that long. And so that's what I'm getting at, is that King Kong, there's nothing magical or like I guess what I'm getting at is the people making King Kong movies, I don't think they all realize that about King Kong, which is that it's just, we just wanted to watch monsters.
You want to hear something really disturbing about this project? So it's being made by Disney. That's the first thing. And to do this, they're exploiting an intellectual property loophole to use the character creatively, which is why it's a series.
Oh, no.
Because Warner Brothers owns the creative rights to the character.
Okay, so this isn't even going to be attached to those other films.
It's literally an IP exploitation by Disney, the chief perpetrator of all IP like guardianship. Like, that's Disney, and they're cheating. It's wild,
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, I mean, Lord knows I would.
That's wild because if you look at any of the articles about this, they're just plastering photos from Godzilla versus Kong. And it's like, no, that's not it. That's not it at all. It's not going to be anything like that.
Well, I don't know what it's actually going to be. I know that there's an IP loophole they're taking
advantage of.
Well,
like you said, it's not going to be...
I have to I don't know if the audience totally understands, so I'm gonna tell this dumb story. So, like, in 2017, or maybe it was 2016, Cracked made a Star Wars parody called Galactic War Room. Now, Galactic War Room, basically, because we were so afraid of Disney's litigious posture on any parody or IP sharing at all, we decided to use a lot of sound-alikes for all the Star Wars stuff. So instead of Death Star, we use Doom bases. And instead of, the Force, we use space magic. And all this stuff, right? Which in some ways made it funny, in some ways I think convoluted it. And the reason we did that is because Disney would sue the shit out of you just because you didn't have the money to defend yourself. Even though you had the right legally to parody because of intellectual property law, they knew you weren't willing to lawyer up.
They'll bog you down with lawyers.
And here they are, not even 5 years later, exploiting the same laws that they themselves were exploiting the other way to keep people from doing this. It's insane.
Right. Of course.
Anyway, maybe you can cut this whole rant. I don't know. I find it so
I'm not
frustrating.
kidding. You keep saying I'm going to cut things. I'm not
Right.
cutting
I
anything.
just find that very frustrating. It's like so hypocritical. It's like, dude, you don't need access to King Kong. What the fuck? You don't need that. You have access to every money-making property in movies right now, as we speak.
And again, I would argue that they probably don't understand it either. So it's I don't know, man. It's a nightmare.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure
This is
some
a
people are going
nightmare.
to watch it. I'm sure they're going to like it. I'm sure that
It's a Disney Plus
it'll probably
series.
be
Like
fine. I just, yeah.
I think it'll be bare minimum. I think. All right, so we should talk about the next
Because
piece of
it
news
relates to
too.
the thing I said.
In this sense, yeah, because we've talked about it a million times, which is that what the internet was bad in a lot of ways. I'm going to start
Thank
there.
you, Dave. That'll
And
narrow this down.
It's great in other ways. Well, what we have to start doing is start deciding what do we and what don't we want the internet to handle. For example, there's that Hot Ones clip going around of Matt Damon explaining very clearly why we don't make good movies
I
anymore.
haven't seen it.
And it's because, he just explained something that we've talked about a million times, which is that back in the 90s, Hollywood relied on rental and home video sales as well. And what that created was situations where they didn't have to just make movies designed for theatrical releases.
Right. Because they're going to make their
These
money
days,
later.
there's no home movie market, right? And so they have to make giant movies that'll make back their money immediately in the theaters, which is why we don't get, middle of the road. Why we don't get like Aaron Brockovich. We're not going to get those movies anymore, and it's because of this reason: is that middle of the road movies don't make enough money.
Right.
You can't spend $60 million on a movie. You have to either spend $10 million or $200 million.
Yep.
And so in the streaming market, it's so telling that the way they describe everything now is with the word content, where it's like they don't even see it as like a work of art or an individual film or an individual TV show, because streaming, nothing makes money back directly. It's just content on a subscription service, right? So that's what I think of King Kong, which is like they're looking for content,
Right. It's
and they just go, "Oh, here's this IP." Yeah,
right. It's a
and it's like ultimately
block.
it's
Right. That's
exactly
what it is. Yeah.
and it's probably gonna be so generic and so like not like everything is just getting so samey. And this goes into how HBO has pulled so many animated shows from their and that Batgirl movie, and like
That
people
was
are
wild.
like, how can you do this?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And it's because they don't see this stuff as the work of artists anymore. They just see it as numbers. They just see it as content. And so there's all these animators speaking up and being like, I worked for years on this thing. And not only did they get rid of it, they got rid of it on social media, on YouTube. They're pretending it doesn't exist because they don't want to pay the creators.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of, Dave?
And it's absolutely ghoulish.
You know what it reminds me of?
What does it remind you?
I think you know
of?
exactly what it reminds me of. It reminds me of a former comedy site we used to work for. It was like, wow, this is the same
it sure
exact
does.
thing. Like down to they're literally just deleting it for the tax write-off.
Right.
Yeah, it's a real bummer.
And like Sesame Street, they pulled Sesame Street.
Yeah.
And so we have to ask ourselves, we have to look at this and we have to say, what's going on? Do we really want to live in a world where our favorite TV shows are seen as just like this noise of content that they're just putting out on this like weird mathematical? And that's what I mean, is that I honestly think we have to start thinking about movies in reverse if we want things to get
create
better.
a Library of Alexandria type situation where it's like at
People
least they're
people have to
accessible.
start valuing stuff like physical media again. We have to get back in that
Of
mentality.
course. I still buy stuff
Because
for that
right
reason.
now,
of course.
yeah, and that's the same with CDs, with albums. Because the ultimate thing is that there is no good way to have access to access to every album for $8.99 a month. You know what I mean? There's no way for that to be good. that is going to kill an industry.
And if you think about it, the promise of it was always built on a fiction that was on shaky legs.
Right.
So, like, I don't like the particulars of the situation, but, like, stepping back in a more sort of a meta commentary way, it's like, yeah, that's right. This idea of a cheap database for where everything that you love for a very short, like, small amount of money is not a real thing. You know, like, not if you want your artists to continue to make money and exist, and not if you want to continue to see it in its latest greatest form. It's just not financially feasible. So, like, you know, we've all kind of been backed into a corner.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Possible.
You can't do it. And yeah, internet comedy was a version of that for sure. It was disposable. It was, again, content. It's the version of magazines, of comedy magazines, that happening too. But we're now seeing it for for a Batgirl movie? Are you kidding me? Like, that's so fucking weird. We have one other option.
Antitrust laws?
Oh. Yeah, I was going to say eliminate the need for money in society. It's one or the other, right?
I don't know,
because
Dave.
that's the thing is
I'm
that
not sure about that.
Here's what we're doing. We're simulating the idea of a Star Trek universe where it's like, oh, at the touch of your fingertips, you get every media known to man, right? Or like, oh, we're going to automate everything. Like everything's going to be Star Trek-y. But we're not eliminating the very key thing you need for that, which is no money. Like, you can't have that utopian future where we can just go on our smart TVs and say, I'm going to watch any movie I want. You can't do that without stealing from artists. So you have to eliminate money, or you just can't do it.
I agree that the existence of money has not exclusively, but largely led to systems of exploitation that we've seen over and over and over, and eliminating it would not make the world worse, as long as
money is out. It's outstated.
Well, yeah, but I do want to say, I don't think that money, if we took away money, that some of these tendencies toward exploitation would stop. I think a lot of them would find new forms.
No, we find new ways.
But I agree that this system is flawed enough that it needs to be rethought. Because money is clearly both a limitation and a system of exploitation, more than it is a way for people to make their way in life right now. At this time in history, that's what it is.
Right, but I heavily agree with you where if we're not going to eliminate money, which we probably won't,
such a huge ask.
We have to regulate the idea of free market. This is the result of the free market deciding something, right, for itself, completely unregulated, with no antitrust laws, with no and it's gotten to the point now that like you like literally, did you see they canceled a Batman animated series? And it's like, what fucking hope does and you artists have? Hope does any struggling artist have when they can't even make a Batman series?
I'm looking into the black bagel just like you are, buddy. Like, I understand. Yeah. Like, it's hard.
I know.
Being a creator is scary, and that's why we have strong feelings about it. Being a
right, but this is about everybody.
Well, because this is, you want the consumer.
What I'm saying is that in 10 years, people are going to be like, wait, why isn't there any movies and TV shows anymore? Like, why? What? Like, that's what's happening. Is we're creating a world where, and maybe that's just how it's going to go. Maybe the kids of tomorrow are just going to be watching a bunch of YouTube shit.
I mean, I watch a bunch of YouTube shit.
At a certain point, people are going to. Me too. Oh yeah, I watch Dream. Adam and his Minecraft videos.
You are the worst.
All the time. I've watched all of them.
You're the worst.
That new man.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, honestly, just side note, Dave, I kind of feel like if it hadn't been named Quibi and put out the way that it had been, and if it was just a YouTube channel, I might have really liked Quibi. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I might
maybe.
have been like, oh, I'm down. I can watch this. But it was, I think, all the pretentiousness and just wanting that guy to fail because of his like ego. But I think I still believe some person who's not a PewDiePie type will figure out how to make something interesting for cheap enough on the internet to keep that going. But that's a different discussion.
Yeah, it's right now, it really feels like late stage. We're on the end of the road. for entertainment industry right now.
Yeah, we're
like
we're
there
at an
needs to be a
evolution
reckoning.
point. Yeah, there's an evolution point here. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. In part because I also think that because most entertainment is now only considered as like what is a dependable, consumable thing. Like that's the other piece of thinking of film and television as content is that like it's literally just considered for like what will people order from the store more than like what would we like to see in a store. Like nobody's even asking that question anymore on either end of it. So yeah, man, I agree that we're at a reckoning point because everybody wants to have something for free, including the movie executives. You know, they want eyeballs for free. The advertisers on like YouTube and stuff, they want eyeballs for mostly free. Like a lot of people don't want to pay for stuff, including the consumers. And the reality is, no, man, it all costs money. It all has to cost money. That's just the deal. And maybe money's bad.
Right. If you want stuff, if the people being like, fuck, why did they get rid of Batgirl? It's like, well, you have to pay for these things, and we haven't been paying for these things. We don't want ads. We don't want to spend. We want to spend $20 to have access to thousands of movies. And it's like, well, guess what? Each of those movies cost millions of dollars to make. It doesn't add up. The math doesn't work.
I mean, but it also especially doesn't work when for a movie studio to exist or for like a streaming service to exist or whatever, it has to be part of this large chain of corporations who are so distant from the products they make that they don't have to care about the impact.
Right. It's not our fault, by the way, if someone offered us all the movies for $20 and we said, yeah.
No, of course not.
Yes.
Of course not.
Like, of course.
But also, like,
yeah.
I also recognize the 2000s Napster piece of this, which is that, you know, you and I are being Lars Ulrich right now and being like, hey man, we like everybody wants all this stuff for cheap, and like so corporations are going to cheat us out of our money and we deserve to get paid, and everyone like bah, and it's like, and they were right to be upset, especially because Metallica was extremely rich. But aside from that,
yeah,
the larger point of like, yeah, but that's true. Artists are suffering. It's not Metallica that's suffering, but it's, you know, dudes like the Dave out here who is going to have a hard time selling his weird ass fucking, you know, hobo with a sci-fi shotgun sequel. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like that's going to be hard for you to sell in this climate because it doesn't have Batman in it. You know?
Right.
It's
but even if it has Batman in it, it might not get...
It's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
It's
fucking wild.
Yeah, I think as a slightly more moderate figure than you, I think it's fair to say I'm a little bit more moderate than you. I think if we're not going to do away with the idea of money, thus necessitating what will probably end up being a police state of some kind, because that's what comes from that, then I would like to see more robust antitrust laws being enforced, because I think that's a big piece of why this domino's falling. You know, it doesn't fix the whole problem, but I feel like antitrust laws would prevent this kind of shit from happening. And so, yeah.
I'm
ready.
Here's my pitch. All internet, back to dial-up.
What are you gonna do for porn, Dave?
Then
what are you gonna do for porn, Dave?
No problem. You wait for your porn. You wait for that fucking picture to tick, 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 slowly tick down.
It's been a little while since you were single. I don't think you're really thinking this through, bro. I think you need to really think about it.
Just wait for it to tick down. There's magazines still. There's movies.
There's no money in magazines, bro.
Tapes.
Are they even still making Playboy?
There will be. There will be when we're all on dial-up.
You sound
That's
like
what
a
I'm
real
saying.
reverse Quibi boy right now. That's what you sound like.
We got Tyler Durden, the internet. We got take it all back.
From. I dream of skins of animals. Everyone's wearing one of them. The internet's just dial-up. He sounded just like Brad Pitt. Exactly how he sounds in real life. Yeah,
that's exactly how he sounds.
By the way, has anybody ever tried to conceive of what his world was from that one description, like that sequence where he's describing it? You know,
he wanted like the Last of Us. No, I know what he wanted. He wanted us to go back to just pre-civilization, where we're all just like, you know,
because he was like really anti-clothes,
a little more advanced, like Mad Max. It's more
the way
Mad
he
Max.
described the clothes. I just couldn't get over it. It's like everybody had one set of clothes. It was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the way. That sounds a little crazy.
Right. Why can't we wash our clothes?
What's the plan with that, Tyler Durden? Yeah.
Yeah. We should think some more.
My God, there's so many to think.
There's
guys are so
many
beloved.
to thank. I know. Big thank you to Del Griffith, the shower curtain fella.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you to the Midnight Patron with
Classic.
patrons at midnight. Thank you to Exploding
Thanks.
Runes. Thank you to Andrew, the proud
Oh,
Satanist
thank you.
Howe. Thank you to Vincent.
Sure.
Ta.
Yeah,
Thank you to Rev MD.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you to Bootler. Bootleson.
You really David that line. Thanks, Bootler.
Thank you. Thank you to Tux.
Tux.
Thank you, Tux.
Tux.
Thank you to Ricky Cilantro.
Thank you. I love that name.
Thank you to Norm.
Thank you.
Norm from Cheers.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you to Space Nick McNulty. Thank you.
Also a good name. Thanks to your mom. Thanks to
Thanks.
Nolan Tubi's Dark Herald Mayton. Thanks
Thanks.
to Andrew. Adam Ganser deserves more hype. McGuire. Hey, thanks so much.
Woo!
Thank you. Thanks to AJ. Thanks to Tip
Thank
Drizzle.
you.
Tip
Tip
Driz.
Driz.
Thanks to Burrito Mouth.
Thank you.
Thanks to the ghost of Dave Thomas. Thanks to
Thank
Aaron.
you.
Thanks to Aaron Burser. Thanks to Christopher
Thank
Robert
you.
Sparts Esquire. Thanks
Thank
to
you.
Mackenzie. Fuck shuffling with Willem Dafoe's confusingly large dick. Chill. Thanks to Funky
Thank
J.
you. Thanks.
And thanks once and for all to Pie Guy. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Pie
Pie
Guy. Thank
When
you.
I go thank you.
Yeah.
The waveform looks like a carrot. Thank you.
That's neat, Dave.
Carrot.
You know who you sound like?
Carrot.
You sound like my friend who's a DP who used to get high and then just like pour smoke and milk into a container and film it and be like, look at it. It's so cool. Be like, all right, but you're never going to use that in a
That
movie,
is
bro.
cool.
It was very cool. It was very
Yeah,
cool. He loved it.
yeah.
He loved it so much. He's a beautiful guy. Dave. Hey, Dave.
What?
Dave, do you
What?
happen to have several movies that deserve more hype? Do you happen to? Oh,
I do. I do.
I knew you did. I
I
saw the doc.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah,
it.
you
I knew
did.
it was
That's
there.
how you knew.
Yeah.
That's why you asked. Listen,
I'm listening.
Adam,
Okay.
I do.
Thanks,
I have
Dave.
2 movies that deserve more
Great.
hype. The first one is called Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon. This is from the director of A Girl Walks
Yep.
Home at
Yep.
Night. Did I get that
I
right?
believe you did.
The
Yep.
vampire one. And The Bad Batch. And this is looks just as fucking wild. This is about a young woman who escapes a mental institution who clearly has superpowers, specifically the power to make anybody do anything she wants.
she's
She's Pusher
telekinetic.
from the
Yeah,
X-Files.
Yeah.
And she runs into Kate Hudson, who plays a dancer. This is all in New Orleans.
I love Kate Hudson.
And,
Kate Hudson from the trailer. It's like, wow, she's doing something
Yes.
fucking awesome in this movie. Right?
Yeah, and they become friends. And that's what the trailer promises.
She's
and
sort
that's
of
what the
a
synopsis is.
caregiver, like an inadvertent caregiver for this young girl who's escaped from an asylum. That's what it is, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
So here's the thing that's like clearly appealing about this movie. What's clearly appealing is the cinematography and the saturated colors that are very like this is like a weird reference, but have you ever played the game Watch Dogs 2, Dave? Okay.
Sure.
I was just dicking around with this the other day. It kind of looks like that game. Like it has that sort of
Interesting.
young graffiti art. It's not graffiti, but like that same sort of like meme looking color scheme. It's got a little bit of
I
that
getcha.
going for it. It's got a great wide angle lens.
It's like right. It's the neon noir look,
and it's
I
awesome.
believe it's called. Yeah.
It's awesome. But Dave, here's my concern. You ready? Am I allowed to have concerns in the more hype section?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read the reviews of this, or I guess I read the synopses of this, and it is exactly what I was afraid of, which is the plot is not that great. That is what people are saying. The script is very A to B.
Sure.
That was my concern when I watched. It was like, this looks cool, but is the story cool? I don't know how cool the story is.
I don't know. This isn't about that. It's about whether or not it deserves more hype. And I would argue it deserves more
I guess
hype.
more than none. Sure. Just
More
the
than
look
none.
of it alone
Yeah,
is
there you
like
go.
more than none. The Kate Hudson of it all.
It looks very interesting. Yeah, the Kate Hudson of it all. The director, she's just
cool.
If you like her other films, you'll probably like this. It's worth noting. It's not. It's tough because I'm more excited about the next one.
Same.
But when I saw this trailer, I was like, oh, I should throw that on too, because this is worth looking at. It's called Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon. It's got Craig Robinson in it as like the cop that's
He's
like
so
pursuing
good.
her, and that seems really
Love
fun.
him.
It looks fun. I agree that the plot is probably fairly straightforward, more so than I think the trailer lets on. But I'm very curious.
Craig
about
Robinson
this one.
is such a cool dude. I love him so much.
I saw him.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because I was like, should I tell the story? I saw him at a karaoke bar by himself.
Nice.
He was singing karaoke. I got very drunk and somebody dared me to go talk to him. I was like, all right, I will.
Did you?
So yes. So I went over to talk to him, but he just looked at me. He's like, nah, man. That was it.
That's pretty funny.
So I wandered away, sadly, having been rejected
That's
by
amazing.
Craig Robinson.
Oh,
Yeah.
getting rejected by a
Perfect.
celebrity.
He's just like,
It
I'm
happens.
not into this.
Bruce Campbell refused to hug me.
Why would he? Why would he hug any of us?
Yeah,
Right.
no. Why would he? Why would he hug me? That's
why
what
would
it
he?
comes down to. Is like I don't. He doesn't owe me anything. You know what we got to do? We got to go to their house.
Get it on. Get it
and
there.
we hug
we'll
them.
pitch them stuff because they'll
Yeah, get them while
definitely
they
like
sleep.
us if we're in their house. That's how it works. Yeah, they'll definitely
Exactly.
like us there.
That's what they call house rules.
It's the
right?
house likes. Yeah, they're gonna really like us there
Yeah,
in their house.
house likeys.
House likes.
House likeys. Second trailer,
This looks great.
Adam, and
Yeah.
people saw this. Yeah, people saw this one coming. Tom tweeted it at me, but I want to state that I already
Of course.
knew about it.
Sure.
So there, Tom. This is Something in the Dirt. Tell me, Adam, have you seen the works of
I
Justin
have.
Benson
I like
and
the
Aaron
Endless
Moorhead?
quite a bit.
Yeah. Me too.
I think
really
they're
like
really
Spring.
creative filmmakers. I like that they're still doing it. I think they do a lot with very little. I think they deserve hype.
Yeah,
they're really good.
They're Neil Breen, but
Yes.
good. You know, where it's like you can see the seams because it's very indie, and they star in everything.
That's the problem.
But they actually make good things.
I think the problem is they won't give up acting. If they would give up acting, I think that they would have a bigger film career.
Well, yes. In their defense, they did direct 2 TV
Good for them.
series recently.
That's great.
In fact, the very offensive article I read about this framed it as from the directors of Moon Knight, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like
That's not who they are.
It's
Right.
Benson and Moorhead. Yeah, that's not who they are at all. But yes, they directed episodes of Moon Knight and Archive 81. And they are, if people haven't seen Spring or The Endless, they are so good
The
at
Endless is
sci-fi
great.
concepts.
Really
There's,
good.
Synchronic, I like
Yeah.
Synchronic as well, which actually has a budget behind it. I get why they don't want to, because here's the thing: is their strongest movies are the ones that they star
I
in.
think they're
which is weird.
of the Kubrick
But,
school insofar as they're like, look, all we need is to be able to make enough money to survive, to like live, and we can keep doing this.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, they're kind of living a dream. It's like, if you and I
They
could
are.
make a movie every 3-4 years that was our movie, and it was enough for us to, have the same lifestyle we have now. That's not the worst life, Dave. It's not your dream, but it's not the worst life.
That's
Yeah.
really what it is it really feels like they're making movies for them with the money they have, and enough people like their movies,
Sure.
me being one of them.
Me too.
This is, from the synopsis, this actually reminds me a little bit of the plot of Nope. I don't think it's going to be the same, but in fact, it's very different too, but like some of the themes, it's about 2 filmmakers who like move in together, and like they need a place to stay in an unfurnished apartment, and they witness an object in the apartment levitating. And they obsess over this thing levitating, and they decide to make a film about this levitating object and what it is, and they're pursuing it. And someone described it as a cross between Poltergeist and Close Encounters of the Third
seems right.
Kind. So it looks really fucking fascinating. Something in the Dirt. Absolutely check it out. I think it's got a little meta commentary on it, which is why I think it's going to be a little like Nope, whereas Nope has a little meta commentary about the industry. I think this is going to be that as well.
I think they always have a little bit of meta commentary anyway, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a
I'd
touch.
say so.
Like not.
I don't know.
Not
a touch.
not an amount that's like roll your eyes.
Right, and I imagine this is probably the most that meta commentary. But it looks, I don't know, if you've seen The Springer Endless, I don't need to sell you on this. I literally put this in the more hype section before even watching the trailer or seeing what it was. Because I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, these two have given me such good things.
They are living the indie filmmaker dream. I mean, I guess
they really
they're
are.
living the current version of the indie filmmaker dream. Like, the real indie filmmaker dream is Tarantino. But they're living a version of it that I would be happy to live, and so would you. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like they're like the last indie
Everybody
filmmakers
says
to
that.
me.
That's the thing that gets said all the time.
I know. But that's the vibe they give off, right? Is like you watch their stuff and you're like, oh, this is some fucking indie filmmaking. Like it feels like this is what, I don't know. It's their use of digital effects, their use of like digital cameras, I assume. It just feels like the way indie filmmaking should feel more often nowadays. But there's tons of indie films.
It captures what is lovable about indie film, because it feels very much like these guys did most of the jobs, and like that's a really good movie.
Right, and I was going to say part of it is the fact that they're in it. That's like 90s indie, you know. That's Spike Lee or Kevin Smith shit.
Yeah, I mean, more power to them. You know, like when you can do it. And you're good enough at it, they keep paying you to do it. That's the dream, and they're doing that. So, who am I? You know, that's exciting.
Check it out.
Check all this out. You know, check
it out.
Check out Jackass.
Check all of it out.
If you haven't seen Jackass, check that out.
Yeah,
check it out.
And just go on your computer, Google
check
movies.
Yeah, check those out. By the way, would you be shocked to find out that Mario Sopranos already exists? I didn't look it up. But I bet you it does. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like there's no way that we just created a new idea like that's that obvious that somebody didn't already do. You know?
Right. Yeah. Someone Google Mario Sopranos.
That's right. Yeah.
Also, Google Mario's penis.
Yeah. Just those words.
You'll get something.
Something will for sure come up.
That'll come up.
I mean, there's no doubt there's all kinds of animated porn out there for that according to you, we should be waiting 10 minutes to see. That's
right. Google cartoon pornography.
I don't think anybody needs to do that. I think all they need to do is watch long enough and see what your girlfriend sends me in the mail, because that's probably en route as we speak. More of this cartoon pornography.
Yeah. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I doubt it, Dave. I doubt that very much. Pleasant is the word that I doubt. Are you growling? Hey, so are you almost awake now? It's 1:00. Are you?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I gotta pee.
Sure.
You want to go?
I kind of wanted to stay with you while we pee and just keep talking, but we keep done.
I can't bring the microphone all the way in there.
That's a lack of effort, Dave. That's really all that is.
I need a portable podcasting mic for sure. Something I can strap to my head like I'm fucking Hunter S. Thompson.
Counterpoint, a diaper. Yeah. You just need a diaper, Dave.
Either one.
Ooh,
or a diaper mic. Diaper mic.
Write that down, producers. That's some money right there.
Yeah.
That's a money idea.
So Google, write down diaper mic, Mario's penis, Italians, Tony Soprano.
No. I don't want any generic races on my Google list, bro. I don't think that's not the way.
Sure.
That's not the way. Anyway, let me know how the peeing goes, Dave.
I will. Adam, you want to plug stuff?
I'd love to. Again, if you are not aware of the video game podcast One-Upsmanship I do with Michael Swaim on the iHeart Network, now you are. Go check it out. We're covering every great video game from time began till time burns out, and deciding which of them lands on the celestial hard drive to be preserved for all eternity. And sometimes Dave is on it. So,
you guys talking about that Mario?
Yeah, we are. We're gonna. Actually, there is a Mario game slated in the next couple months, so you're excited to hear that. So yeah, check that out. If you're already a fan and you've listened to it, but you haven't rated and reviewed, please do that, because we would love to have the podcast reach new ears, because new ears means new audience, which means more great stuff for you. Also, you can check out my other podcast that I do with my pals Abe and Maggie and Mike on the Small Beans Network. It's a sister network. I'm sure you're aware of it. I'm sure I'm not the one breaking news to you, but you can check it out on Patreon/smallbeans. And you'll see Director Piece Theater, and I'll show you mine if you show me yours, and Escape from the Multicurse, and so many episodes of entertainment that I'm out here pumping away every day for you because I love you all. Thanks for having me on, Dave.
Of course. Thanks for being on. You did great. Great
Thank you.
co-host.
Thank you. I
Good
miss
job.
Tom, though. Right? He would have shamed me by now at least once. Right? I'm feeling he would have shamed me by now at least once, right? Like, I just miss Tom. He's like the guy with the ruler that raps you on the knuckles when you're misbehaving.
Yeah, I have a humiliation fetish as well, and like Tom really helps with that.
Yeah, he's so
I
good
understand.
At it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Listen, who am I? My name is Dave.
Who are you? Is a good question.
The podcast. This has been Hypecast. This is how we end all the episodes. Totally normal.
Yeah.
Listen, we have a Patreon. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You go on there. You give $5 a month. You get access to a bunch of podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek: The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. Those are all exclusive on there. $5 a month. We watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. That's another thing you can do. You can go to gamefullyunemployed.com, and that'll give you a link to our Teespring store, so you can check that out as well. I think
the audience deserves to know, if you'd like to hear Dave and I talk even a little bit more, unfortunately, there are no podcasts that we have ever made together.
Not a single one.
If there were, they would not be about Twilight or about 50 Shades of Grey. And if you Google it and something shows up,
that's correct.
You're a liar. Fuck you. It doesn't exist. So
yeah. Don't Google it.
That.
Google Mario's penis.
Yeah, do what we say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can follow him on Twitter at @thecorlew, CORLEW, and find more music at shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. You can find more of his artwork at instagram.com/mvbramleyart. Our episode artwork is produced by Justin Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at @JustinTBrown, and find more of his artwork at artnessbyjustinbrown.com and justinbrown.info.